Hello there guys and girls, welcome to another episode of RedManaMadness. Doing a small little deck tech today. I've been so eager to get this video out and do a recording with discussion and talk about my next 2-cost commander. If you follow my channel, you'll start getting the idea that I have a thing for any commander that costs just 2 pips or just 2 mana. And in this case, it's Orcs. So I'm doing another Rakdos, another Rakdos deck. In this time it's the Orc legendary creature Mauhur, Uruk-Kai Captain, I think that's pronounced that right, from the Lord of the Rings set. And basically it's, +1/+1 counters with army goblins or orcs. Whenever one or more counters are put on an army goblin or orc, you control that many +1/+1 counters upon it instead, or that many +1. So essentially the idea behind it is to utilize your commander, create an army, or utilize another orc or goblin and create like a gigantic creature. The idea is to create like one big giant orc and then have like supporting creatures around it, and then use that big orc to just smash, like orc smash, proper fighty kind of deck, so to speak. Playtest it a couple of times, playtest it a few times now. I wouldn't say it's very competitive after maybe the 4 or 5 games I've had with it, maybe a little bit more than that, 7 or 8 games I think. It's not super competitive. I have made some upgrades over the last couple of weeks. One of them is being the Orcish Bowmasters. That's been a recent addition in the last play testing, and I was actually quite fortunate to draw that at some point in the game and utilize that, which was quite good. In overall, it does need a little bit more work. I think there's maybe some more commander staple cards that make just your deck run just a little bit better, a bit more card draw, a bit more interaction, removal and stuff. But as I play it, I think I'll work out the kinks over time. But it's actually kind of fun. It's very basic. It's not too complicated. Very simple deck. Set up a bit of a board. Get a couple of creatures out before you're ready to create your army. Get your commander out. He only costs 2, so essentially, on like turn, 4 or 5, once you've got a little bit of a board state ready to go, and you've got some other spells to cast to get things big, so to speak. Get your commander out first, then start playing the spells, create your army, and then boom. Next thing you know, you've got a 6/6, you've got a 7/8, whatever. And then you're swinging wide with it essentially. I like to think I've got a couple of little combo pieces in here that kind of go off and marry off with each other quite well. I've had some good positive feedback, to be fair, from my opponents. Whenever I do a little gimmick or a little combo, they're like, "Oh, that's actually quite a good idea," And they actually like the idea of the deck, so to speak. So we'll go through that. So yeah, that's the commander. We'll go through a little bit more. That's the strategy as well, but we'll go through the creatures and just see what creatures that I have that marry or synergize with the commander, so to speak. So Orcish Bowmasters is kind of like a given. Whenever it enters and whenever an opponent draws a card, except for the first one, you deal 1 damage and then you amass orc. Had this great little combo piece of your commander, because instead of massing 1, you're essentially amass orcs 2 every single time someone draws a card. And in commander, drawing cards is like very common amongst other people's strategies and stuff. Huge card. I was actually able to get him quite cheaply online. A few other little bits and bobs with the goblins as the support. I do have a few other goblins from the Lord of the Rings set. It is very Lord of the Rings themed per se, but again with the mass orc 2 idea. With the Mirkwood bats, say for example, the trebuchet, the Mordor trebuchet, you create a colorless artifact token. Whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 2 life. So just with these 2 cards alone, you're pinging for 2 per turn, just creating that, which is not too bad. Another orc, each opponent sacrifices creatures. It helps slow the game down on your opponents a little bit. Still, potentially Manabox from your opponent, give yourself a little bit of ramp. Goblin Tutor. Essentially, I would be searching for one of the two Krenkos essentially to create those tokens. Again, with the Mirkwood bats creating those tokens, as you're creating them, you're dealing damage when you use them and they die or whatever. You know, if you're going to sacrifice them for whatever reason, that's another one. The Ogre Battle Driver is not too bad because as you're creating tokens, you know, they come in as a 3/1 with haste essentially, and you could just, you know, change the strategy and swing wide with lots of creatures. But again, when it enters, amass orcs. Treasure tokens creating, again, it's a goblin, help with Krenko and whatnot. Draw cards on this one. When you deal damage, you may sacrifice it when you do. But when you deal damage with an orc or goblin, potentially with the goblins, if you can get through, you can draw a card with that. Sacrifice another creature, amass orc 2, amass orcs as well. And your creature tokens have Death Touch. That'd be quite handy with your goblins, and your army token if you're creating something quite big. And again, this guy kind of is like your lieutenant to your commander, so to speak. Creating whenever a creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on this creature, and if it's a goblin or orc, put 2 instead. And then again, comboing off your commander, potentially 3 counters, which is quite big. Squeeze as well, just for sacking reasons, and you can replay them if you need creatures. Goblin spells are cheaper. So it's not too bad. I don't know if I need more creatures or not. This is part of the reworking that I'm trying to figure out. Where do I need more creatures to help like remain competitive on the board and have a presence? Do I need more removal and more interaction to help deal with other people? These are the things I'm trying to figure out. You've got the usual couple of mana rocks. Maybe not too many. The lands I'm running 36 lands total. Some of the lands are kind of necessary for the deck, so you've got Khan's Bastion to proliferate, again with the counters. Opal Palace, if you're casting your commando, put 1/1 counter on it. That's not too bad, because you put 2 on instead. Amass Orcs as well with the land on this one. Reliquary Tower, a few of the usual basics. This one's not too bad as well, because I could choose a commander that enters the battlefield this turn and put 1/1 counter on it. Again, that actually, I managed to combo that with the Opal Palace and was able to, like, you know, put like quite a few counters on my commander, just with those 2 lands on their own, which is not too bad. Planeswalkers, I have some supporting Planeswalkers. Hang on. So creatures you can try have Menace, not too bad. Again with the Amass, I heard that because I'm creating an army, if I was to do the -2, I can amass 2 with my army instead of a zombie army, if that makes sense. I'm not too sure how the ruling is, but I was told that although it says zombie, I can create an orc army with this guy. And Vraska, a bit of a no-brainer with the proliferate. I don't think I'll be using her for the poison, it's more for the proliferate. Obi-Wan has a good little enchantment. With all the counters going on, might be a cool idea to like use those counters and Obi-Wan to deal damage to opposing creatures if there's anything on problem on the board. And maybe just to your opponent's face as well. At the beginning of each upkeep, if someone lost life, 1/1 counters. Whenever someone attacks me, this is actually kind of new. I'm not too sure why I put it in here, to be fair, but I thought to myself, I've noticed when I was playing, I do get attacked quite a lot. The board does tend to bully me a little bit whenever I play this commander. Not too sure why, but maybe I do create some very big creatures sometimes, and you do get people that swing at you. So I thought maybe with people going to attack me on a regular basis, they get punished as a result. That was probably the idea. I'll put that in there. Phyrexian Arena is a new addition as well, because it's recently in recent gameplays the deck was lacking significant card draw, so that was in there. Amass Orcs, and it enters, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Bit of graveyard recursion, comes in with 1/1 counters, so if someone was to come in, they get extra 1/1 counters on there as well. Whenever a legendary creature you control dies, got a couple in there, a couple of legendary creatures, deals damage up to 1 target opponent, so that's not too bad. And the Impact Tremors, it's a bit of a no-brainer. If I'm putting Krenko in here and I'm going to potentially create lots of tokens and lots of creatures, having that in there to drain your opponent's life was a bit of a no-brainer, putting that in there. A couple of equipment, Skull Clamp is another addition, again, card draw, just severely lacking the card draw from previous gameplay. So I'm hoping, I've yet to utilize this in a game yet, so I'm hoping at some point when I play, get to use this a little bit more. get some decent card draw on there. The Soul Cleaver as well, whenever an artifact or a creature is put into the graveyard from the battlefield. So that's anyone's creature. Put a 1/1 counter on the crit creature. I actually had this on my commander once during a game testing day, and I was actually able to, with this alone and his triggering ability, I was able to get him up to like a 24/24, which was massive. Still lost the game, you know, rocking a massive creature and still lose the game, but yeah, it's just how it is. Again, whenever a creature attacks, put 1/1 counter on it. Lightning Greaves, a bit of like protection on any important creatures, maybe the big orc that I'm creating. Interaction in terms of like the instants and sorceries. Pyroblast, this is a new addition just to deal with any problem people. This is just to bring someone back from, if someone does a target removal on an important creature, potentially Orcish Bowmasters, I could save that, bring him back in, comes back in a little bit tougher. Orcish Medicine, again, amass orcs, but it gives me some indestructible. Imp's Mischief, this is another recent addition, because I've been encountering a lot of room targeted removal on my creatures, especially like my commander, Orcish Bowmasters, 1 or 2 other important key characters. This could be, you know, it's kind of handy to redirect a spell, potentially target someone else's, bit of target removal, bit of life gain as well. This was added mostly because when I get targeted a lot and I have quite a few people coming after me, I don't really have any life gain. So I thought to myself, maybe if I had that in there, if someone did have a big graveyard, I could potentially exile a graveyard, gain 10 to 15 life, just to give myself a little bit of breathing space, potentially. Maybe a bit circumstantial, but I thought maybe why not. Darkness, prevent some combat damage, target removal. And this was a recent addition as well, actually, because I thought to myself, if I'm creating like a really, really big creature, because I was having a hard time, like, I thought to myself, I managed to create my commander to like a 24/24, and I thought he only costs 2, so it doesn't matter if he dies the first 1 or 2 times, because he's so cheap, I can recast him quite a few times quite easily. And I thought to myself, if I was able to get lucky and manage to get him to like, you know, a power 20 commander, I might just, I thought I'd add this in here just for a bit of, I don't know, a bit of a joke, but potentially it could actually be something useful, because if I can sacrifice him and then fling deals damage equal to its power to any target, if the game is looking, this, you know, potentially could be a game ender. If it's heads up commander after 2 other players have like been knocked out, you know, and he's down to his last 15 life and my commander's like 16, 17 life, I could just fling it at him and just end it. So that was the idea behind that. Again, a bit circumstantial, but I have like these scenarios in my head where I think to myself, oh, okay, if I was in this situation, could this happen? And because I've been in situations where I only have 1 or 2 creatures, people have been like removing some key parts of my board. I have like a 20 power creature, but I can't seem to get through to anyone or make anything with it. Or I'm being on the defensive and I need that big creature to block a few creatures just to try and survive, otherwise I'm open. So I thought to myself, well, bugger it. Maybe I'll just fling that 24/24 orc at my opponent and just kill him and end the game there and then. So that was the idea behind that. I thought it was quite funny. Vandal Blast, if you're running red, a pretty basic, you know, commander staple there. Draw 2 cards and 2 treasure tokens. Again, amass orcs. Destroy target creature. Destroy target creature on enchantment. Draw cards, lose life, amass orcs. Treasure tokens, amass orcs. Card draw. Destroy creatures. I haven't got any board wipes in here, so I have a board wipe. I don't know how useful this is. It is quite extensive. If I can get hold of maybe Blasphemous Act, that might be a little bit more sensible to use. And again, amass orcs. So that's literally it. The idea is to try and amass orcs as many times as possible, create like one gigantic creature, lots of goblin support, and hopefully have a board state where, you know, people can't get through to you, so to speak. You're able to defend yourself, and then you've got other little gimmicks to help try and deal with some problem people. Fling, for example, a little bit of target removal as well. Orcish Bowmasters combos off quite well, doing some bits and bobs. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a very simple deck. You know, in terms of like what I've created in the past, I feel like this is probably one of the most basic ones. But it's actually a lot of fun. I quite enjoy it. I've always wanted to do orcs. This is like way before Lord of the Rings. There just wasn't many orc creatures, so to speak, or at least commanders that would go well with it. Not that I was interested in anyway. And I quite like 1/1 counters. I have my Coven counters deck. It's a very basic deck. Put counters on things, make them massive, fighty. And this is essentially the same concept, and I quite enjoy it. So, initially this wasn't very expensive to make. This turned out to be like a £40 deck, but minus adding Orcish Bowmasters and a few other key cards to upgrade it and make it a little bit more competitive. Yeah, it has like ramped up in price a little bit. I have put a bit of money into this deck just to like make it reasonably competitive now. But originally, when I first made it, just using the cards alone from the Lord of the Rings set and a couple other cards and some basic removals and some basic card draw and whatnot, it only came to like £40. So I was quite surprised at how cheap initially the deck was. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, but like I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm gonna try and keep it, don't want to ramble on too much, but this was literally it. Just a little deck tech, show you the cards that I've got, the idea behind it, and the gimmick behind the design, so to speak. But yeah, I hope you, hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you like the idea of the commander as well. I really do like these 2-cost commanders. It helps me break away from the regular norms. Like everyone builds, an Atraxa deck or a Shieldred deck or a Turgid deck and bloody blah, bloody blah, but no one really, I feel like no one really makes these decks, the uncommon legendary creatures that cost something like, I always like going for the 2 costs, but no one makes those decks though, and I feel like it's quite good to like break away from the norms, create something that is potentially different and a little bit more unique as well. So I do quite enjoy doing these little 2-cost commanders. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of the commander. Let me know what you think of the deck as well. Like, just because I know that I'm very, very average when it comes to deck building and playing as well. I'm not super competitive. If anything, I'm quite casual. But just by seeing this, what would you maybe add or do different? Like, would you change the strategy? Would you maybe even change the commander? Could you think of another commander that's orc related that does better than this that you might change, or what would you make different or anything like that? But yeah, any ideas, any comments, if you like the idea of the deck, let me know about it. Just send me some likes, leave a comment as well, and let me know your thoughts and opinions. But I'll keep it short and sweet. I won't ramble on too on. So yeah, guys, as always, check out the store on Vinted. Check out the other store on eBay as well for any card related ideas that you want to do, anything that you're after. And give us a like on our socials, Instagram, RedManaMadness, and Facebook as well, RedManaMadness. So yeah, guys, boom. Have a good one.